SQL and MDX and some of our tools doing that M code and R code and all the other stuff of dealing with data and manipulating data. And so there's so much stuff that comes down the pipe. And that's why on your exams, you don't have to know programming. You have to know what the product does and where would you actually utilize this. Yes. And then then AI, we start dealing with all the programming and the coding there. And it's like, oh my gosh, when do we stop? Right? We don't. Right? We don't. And that's the thing, right? That's the thing. It's just it's a constant, and there's so many pieces and parts that are going along or in here. It's almost like it's overwhelming. But that's also why I said earlier, when we're doing these certifications, you're having to look at all of these different products, right? Storage and data proc and data flow and composer and cloud SQL and bigtable and BigQuery. We don't use all of those in our daily lives. Most of us have lanes that we work in. Hey, I'm a network person. I'm a cloud security person. I'm a database person. I do the machine learning models and all of this stuff. I'm an application programmer. Alrighty. And a lot of these certifications make us feel like, oh, we have to be able to do it all. You don't have to be able to do it all, but you need to know how everything fits in, right? You look at it as any sports team. Everybody can't be quarterback, but the quarterback knows what the offensive players do, each one of their positions. The quarterback also knows what each one of the defensive players are doing because they're the ones trying to get to him, right? And so you don't have to know how to do all of those technologies, but understand how those technologies fit in with each other, all right? Just to know how those technologies fit in with each other. And that's why, like, the questions I'm showing you, they're not overly technical. They're not asking you a configuration setting or this thing that's 5 levels deep. But conceptually, do you understand how this product works and what you could do with it? All right. And then how does it fit in? And I love the Lego bricks. How does it fit in with the overall? All right. As we're building that bigger picture. All right. As we're building that bigger picture. All right. And I just remembered we're doing the 2 smaller breaks, right? Not the longer break. All right. The 2 smaller breaks. Okay. So yeah, and then everywhere's pushing because everybody's pushing AI now, right? And here's the interesting little secret. Last year when everybody started talking about AI, oh my gosh, and what are we gonna do? We've been doing AI for over a decade, okay? In the Intel spaces, we've been doing AI for a decade. AI didn't get popular and scary till people realized that it could write their term papers for them. But I've been doing AI since 2010, 2011, okay, in the Intel spaces and the things that we're looking at and the things that we're doing. It's not anything new. It's just new to the public. And now, since it's out there, let's push everybody to it. Why was it always undercover? Because every nice new toy we get, somebody's looking to do something bad with it, right? Every time you create a new lock, there's a locksmith being trained. And so, this is why we can't have nice things, right? So, and that's the thing here. It's always going to be something. I'm just, wondering what we'll be doing 10 years from now. But I'll bet you it won't be cloud. All right, we'll be on something new. Looking at your pub sub, streaming data, right? Streaming data. So when we're taking a look at our environment here, and we've got data streaming in, hey, look at, what are we using here? Oh, here we go. Yeah, I just saw a delivery truck earlier, right? You think about all of the delivery trucks, right? And they've got their GPS on it, and the organizations are doing real-time tracking. When does that GPS receiver send that signal versus when it actually gets received and processed, right? All of that data that's being sent, but then that data has to be received All right. And then that data has to be received, right? And, okay, for non-code. Yeah, remember data fusion was on the top. We talked about data fusion and data prep yesterday. All right. Data prep, remember, that's the third party company. So in order to use data prep, you got to let that company see all your data. All right. And then we went to data fusion. All right. And then we went to data fusion. Flashback to yesterday, right? So looking at when things are actually coming, right? You've got this pipeline and you've got this pub sub that's receiving all of this GPS data or location data from all of the delivery trucks. Alrighty. How are we going to set up our windows to process? Because here's the deal. If you've got data constantly coming in, you've got to, at some point to say, okay, look, I'm going to process this much. Or am I just sitting here receiving this data and it's never going to stop? And I'm trying to figure out, when do I process? When do I start doing my running totals? When do I start doing my whatever? I've got to find some window to say, okay, look, even though it's coming in, I'm going to process on these periods. This is when we get our windows. All right, this is our windows. What kind of windows are we going to look at? Set windows. Hey, every 5 minutes I'm processing. All right, every 5 minutes I'm going to process. All right, usually based on time, could be based on events. What do you mean? I'm going to process every 50 records. That's on the events, right? Every 50 records, I'm going to process. Every 50 records, I'm going to process. Or every 5 minutes, I'll process. However much data came in 5 minutes, 100 records, 20 records, my 5-minute windows, right? Or am I going to have a sliding window, right? Or would I have a sliding window? Or would I have a session window? We get to decide, right, in our data flow, what we're going to do. All right, what we're going to do. Now, I've never seen any questions relating to Windows, but as you were programming these, right, programming, coding, going back, right, understanding how these things work. All right, if it is a fixed window, it's based on a certain time period, right? Sliding window. Hey, how often do I want to start the window and how long do I want to have the window open? Right? Maybe I'll do a 30-second window every 10 seconds. So that means I'm going to have a 20-second overlap somewhere in there, right? Right? Because every 10 seconds, I'm starting a 30-second window. And so I'm going to have some overlap. Or maybe individual sessions. All right? Or maybe sessions. So now, you know, hey, this person is shopping, this person is shopping, this person is logged in, this person is logged in. Individual sessions, what are they doing? All right, how am I going to process that data? All right, and so looking at this as we're processing our data, and you're putting your pipeline together, all right, and you're putting your pipeline together, you're deciding what you're going to do. Right? And you'll see the options here, Java, Python. Again, you don't need to learn any of this coding, right? Right? Python uses one way, okay? Java does it the other, whether it's fixed windows, hey, whether it's a sliding window, right? Here, I'm gonna do a 30-second window every 5 seconds, right? Every 5 seconds and that kind of stuff. What are we doing? Right? Sliding window. Someone's got their microphone open. I can hear feedback in my ear. All righty. Everybody, please check your mics. Okay. And that person with the mic open is not hearing me or listening. Okay, we're back. So, and you have session windows. All righty. How you would program session windows inside of your environment. Now, you don't need to know how to program any of these. All right. There's no programming on your test. Okay. But one of the things we will deal with also, we've got the windows. All right. You've got the windows. What time is it? 11. Yeah, after the watermarks, we'll take our break. Okay, after this next couple, 2 or 3 slides, we'll go ahead and take our 15-minute break. All right, we have watermarks. All righty. What do our watermarks, all righty, because we've got our different windows, right? We're deciding how much or at what time periods we want to actually start processing. Because if data's coming in, we've got to decide at what point we want to start processing this data, right? We've got to decide what we're going to do, right? Hey, I've got all these emails coming in. When am I going to start doing it? Right? I see this, well, I've seen this several times here where I live in the DC metro area, right? I'll see people post jobs and they will be like, what is it? What is the last one I saw that says only 50 resumes will be accepted, or the first 50 resumes, the first 50 resumes. Now, in this area, we have a term that we use called wired, right? If you tell me you're posting a job and you're only accepting 50 resumes, I know you already know who you're planning on hiring. And the only reason you're accepting those resumes is for legal purposes. So somebody can't do a complaint against the organization and say, hey, they already had this, and they can say, look, we went by the HR rules, we put it out for public, but we didn't want to have to process all them resumes. So we just said, hey, we're going to bound it at 50 resumes. Even though they knew they were never going to hire any of those people, they already knew who they wanted to hire, but they had to go by the legality, right? They set their window, fixed window, not by time, but by event. All right, but by event. And so that's the thing. You're having to decide, when are you going to start working? All right, when are you going to start working in or with this environment? So when you're looking at your different windows, hey, we know we're either going to do fixed, we're going to do sliding, we're going to do session. Okay, well, which one is it, right? Do we want it simple, time interval, or event, right? Or event, right? We're going to do sliding, right? An interval and a period. Hey, do a 30-second window every 5 seconds. Or, hey, areas of concentrated data. Go by each user. Alrighty, right? Web application, every time a user logs in, there's a sale, there's a sale, there's a sale, there's a sale. Process each one of their shopping carts individually. All right, process each one of their shopping carts individually. Well, here's the deal. We all know, all right, that, oh, we just finished the Olympics, right? Everybody takes off at the same time for, we're track and field, right? We're going to run the one of the races. Everybody can take off at the same time, but we know they're not going to finish at the same time, right? You can have 5 people that's going to take off and everybody run a mile and you say, go. 15 seconds later, go. 15 seconds later, go. You know they're not going to end at the same pattern that they took off. Why? Because some processes will get hindered, all right? What do you mean some processes will get hindered? Well, it could be latency in the network. It could be about what that data has to do. So with this, and we're actually putting in things, we send them in a certain order. We assume that they're going to get there in a certain order, but that's not always the case. All right, that's not always the case. Okay, and so with this, we know that we can send things in certain times. That doesn't mean that they're going to arrive in the same order. And so with this situation here, all righty, with this situation, because here, when everything started, right, where everything started, where everything ends, doesn't really matter. Okay, if it's outside of the window, it's not going to get processed, right? 2 is not getting processed here. All right, so what we can have in here is watermarks. All right, we can have watermarks. And actually, this is going to take longer than I thought with the watermark. Let's do this. Let's go ahead and take our 15-minute break. All right, let me put the timer up here. let's go ahead and do our 15 minutes. Because then in another hour, we can do another 15 minutes. All right. I'm going to grab a tea and I'll be back.